Hey everybody, I'm Walter Vernasiak, and this is Top 5. Here we count down the best and worst performances of our most beloved actors. Today we take a look at the worst of Fire Marshal Bill himself, Jim Carrey. As stated in last week's episode, Jim Carrey is a really good actor with a lot of range. When people say they don't like him, it's usually because they find his overly exaggerated comedic stylings off-putting. That's the thing about comedy though, it's very subjective, even more so than dramas. What one person may find funny, another may not. It's for that reason that this list is less worst and more least best. Carrey always gives 100% in all these roles, but these are the ones that didn't quite hit the mark. Number 5, Charlie Bailey Gates / Hank Evans in Me, Myself, and Irene. The Farrelly brothers have a shoddy track record. Their films range from pretty funny to gross. Carrey isn't awful in this, but I think it's one of his weaker comedic performances. Meet Charlie Bailey Gates, a 17-year veteran of the Rhode Island police force. Charlie is mild-mannered, hardworking, always helpful, and a devoted and loving father to 3 sons. Unfortunately, Charlie has split personality disorder, and when he runs out of his medication, meet Hank, Charlie's hyper-aggressive alter ego. Hank's got a filthy mouth, drinks like a fish, breaks skulls, and is quite the pervert. Carrey once again plays dual roles on this. While Charlie is the straight man everyone walks all over, his comedy kind of falls flat. Hank is his repressed side, who a lot of the jokes rely on, but Carrey's deeper voice and darker demeanor don't do much to make the movie funnier. I will give Carrey credit for fully committing to both roles here. There are points when he plays both at the same time. The back and forth he has with himself is at least impressive to watch. Still, it's one of his least notable performances and slides in at number 5. Number 4, The Cable Guy in The Cable Guy. This movie has a really bad reputation, but honestly it's not as bad as most people say. Ben Stiller directed this 1996 dark comedy, and Jim Carrey got the biggest payday of any actor up to this point. While this is another example of Carrey giving it his all, this role just comes up short. Oddball cable installer Chip Douglas attempts to strike up a friendship with customer Stephen Kovacs by offering him premium channels at no cost. While Stephen rebuffs Chip's frequent need for companionship, Chip goes from a mildly eccentric acquaintance to a full-fledged psycho stalker. Though it's increasingly apparent to Stephen that the cable guy is dangerous, convincing his friends, family, and authorities of that is another matter entirely. Carrey gives the cable guy a lisp that can grate on you after a while. He goes all out with this over-the-top performance, and while there are a couple scenes where this character works pretty well, most of the movie he comes off as more annoying than entertaining. While Carrey doesn't dazzle in this, the worst performance in this movie is without a doubt Matthew Broderick. Plus, his character is way too unlikable to lead the film. He doesn't give Carrey a good character to bounce off of. Maybe if there was someone different in that role, the cable guy would have come off a little better. The ending message of this film is very similar in some respects to The Truman Show. If you want to learn the lesson that this movie is preaching, just go watch that.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Number 3, Walter Sparrow / Fingerling in The Number 23. While this is a fantastic name for a lead character, Walter Sparrow leaves a lot to be desired, and Fingerling is a bit worse. A man's discovery of an obscure book about the number 23 leads him on a descent into darkness. As he becomes more obsessed with its contents, he becomes more convinced that it is, in fact, based on his life. To his horror, he discovers grave consequences in store for the book's main character. Here is an example of Carrey doing a serious role, in this case 2, that just doesn't work. The Walter Sparrow character slowly descends into madness throughout the film. Carrey doesn't exactly excel in those scenes. Of course we know he's capable of playing great serious characters, but the combination of bad direction, an overly convoluted plot, and ineffective editing don't do him any favors. What's worse is the Fingerling character. Most of his lines are in narration, and it really comes off like a comedic bit Carrey would play. Just listen to this.
From this a detective was born. Detective Fingerling. The suicide blonde tells me she was a good person once. But now...
I'm a bad person.
But somebody had used all the coffee.
I'm a detective. A serious detective. Seriously serious in all the ways that is serious. Do you like my coat? I got it at JCPenney. They love your style. If this concept was taken a different way, the number 23 could have been a really smart, clever, and cool movie, but as is, it's pretty lame. Just skip it. Number 2, Count Olaf in Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. This is where it gets kind of bad. I can't say that it's lazy, but Carrey could have tweaked a few things to make Count Olaf more interesting. After the 3 young Baudelaire siblings are left orphaned by a fire in their mansion, they are carted off to live with their distant relative Count Olaf. Unfortunately, Olaf is a cruel, scheming man only after the inheritance that the eldest Baudelaire, Violet, is set to receive. The children escape and find shelter with their quirky Uncle Monty and subsequently their phobic Aunt Josephine, but Olaf is never far behind. Based on the book series, this movie plays out more like a discount Tim Burton movie. The costumes, the tone, the sets, they all just smell Burton-y. Hopefully the upcoming Netflix series will be more interesting. From the beginning, I saw something was off with Carrey's performance. It's obvious he was trying very hard to create a larger-than-life character. However, the effort is wasted. Instead of disappearing into this role like he did with Andy Kaufman, Carrey still exudes a few Carreyisms that remind you it's him under there the whole time. In a small part of the movie, he dresses in disguise as Stefano, and that is legitimately funny. It's too bad he couldn't have just played that role for the whole movie. He tried and did not succeed in making Olaf a great character, but it's still better than his worst performance. And the number 1 worst Jim Carrey performance is...
Mr. Enigma. Edward Nigma.
But you can call me the Riddler.
Mr. Schumacher, welcome to your second spot on this list. Yes, it seems like the combo of Carrey and Schumacher never really works well. This is pretty much Carrey at his most popular, and it seems like he was not only given free rein, but encouraged to go as over the top as possible. The results, much like this movie, aren't great. Batman faces off against 2 foes, the schizophrenic, horribly scarred former district attorney Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, and the Riddler, a disgruntled ex-Wayne Enterprises inventor seeking revenge against his former employer by unleashing his brain-sucking weapon on Gotham City's residents. As the Caped Crusader also deals with tortured memories of his parents' murder, he has a new romance with psychologist Chase Meridian.
Tell me, Doctor, do you like the circus?
Let me get this out of the way first. It was really weird going back to watch Batman Forever. Say what you will about my pal Zach, but at least he takes the material seriously. I'm cool! Almost everything about this movie is just ridiculous. It's not worthless, though. There is some good stuff here with the story of Dick Grayson becoming Robin and even a few elements of Bruce Wayne's arc, but the majority is annoying and too loud to ignore. Carrey is a big part of that obnoxiousness. His Edward Nigma and Riddler portrayal is at a 10 the entire time. There's no break from his craziness. When I said people find him to be too much, this is the perfect performance to point towards. Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face is just as bad, if not worse, so a lot of the blame can be laid on Schumacher, but Carrey took this to a whole nother level.
Caffeine will kill ya! Ow! How's my mole? Spank me. Was that over the top? I can never tell.
Side note, best part of this movie? Seal's kiss of a rose. The Riddler is a great character who deserved better. Hopefully down the road we'll get a serious interpretation of him. So in my opinion, that's his worst. However, the good far outweigh the bad for Jim Carrey. If you haven't, go back and check out my top 5 best Jim Carrey performances video. I want to hear what you guys think. What is your least favorite Jim Carrey movie and performance? Who do you want me to cover next in the show? Leave a comment and let me know. Follow me on Twitter at awesome_Walter and come back right here next week for a new top 5. See ya.